Hi, everybody. This is Gary Gomes again. This is a special edition of my weekly YouTube broadcast. It's an addendum to the hour-long broadcast I did just now, and I'd like to talk about the full moon on October 20th because it's going to be a fairly significant full moon. And I didn't cover it at all. I was so focused on the retrogrades that I didn't cover the full moon. So uh, full moons are usually events when times when events come to closure in charts, even in Vedic charts. And this one is in the sign of relationships. It's kind of important for relationships, to be honest with you, because as I've said in previous videos, um, a lot of relationships have been teetering. There have been at least one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine signs which have severe relationship issues. And I can't recall a time I've ever seen more attention on relationships. Now, again, it may not affect you individually because your major planetary period may be good. It may just mean a little fight or a little disruption in the chart. But there's a warning for, especially for Aries suns, uh, in terms of long-term relationships, because relationships will seem to be weakened. And we have other houses like the second house and the eighth house, where the Lord of the first house and the sixth house are arguments and striving, and the Lord of the seventh house is in the eighth house, which is a house of destruction or death-like states, along with Ketu. So that's not good. The other thing is the house of happiness for Gemini. So the house of relationships is likewise affected for Taurus, and Scorpio is similarly affected. Gemini's happiness in long-term relationships is going to be severely tested with this, because the Lord of the seventh house is in the eighth house still. It won't be in the ninth house until November 17th. As it's in conjunction with Saturn, and a lot of people who've been like thinking about leaving relationships may actually decide to leave after Jupiter goes direct. So that'll be disappointing for both Sagittarius and Gemini. For Cancer, Cancer's had this problem for months now. It'll have this problem really until next spring sometime. And essentially, this full moon will bring to fruition any disappointments in home life, in friendships, pretty much anything, career, pretty much all aspects of life for Cancer. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean all these, and Leo is a little bit immune from that. It's in a little bit better shape, but his house of luck is bad, and his house of desires is affected, and is still kind of affected by that Saturn in the sixth house of the chart, but it's less affected than other signs are. Virgo is facing some arguments, maybe even confronting some lies that it's been told in relationship matters, and with Jupiter being weak, but in the fifth house, so there's still some love involved. It might be less vulnerable to a breakup, but there's a tendency to engage in affairs with this kind of a combination. And there's also a tendency to have just misrepresentation of the person's overall life occurring. So that's not good. and really them not knowing what they want in relationships. The other thing we have over here is Jupiter in the fifth. The happiness quotient is not very high. For Libra, it's the obvious problems that Aries has. We've already spoken about those. So Aries and Libra have the same kinds of problems. Money flows out, goes out. The person feels like they're being stolen from. Relationship partners leave, or they seem to be difficult. There's more focus on work for Libra rising. For Scorpio rising, it's just this really kind of a nasty, I don't give a damn attitude about relationship life. And so a lot of things that were really being held back for months in terms of relationships are going to kind of pop for Libra and Scorpio. For Sagittarius, we've already mentioned that. For Capricorn, Capricorn is kind of unhappy right now. It feels kind of boxed in or kind of restricted. And Aquarius, again, is a little bit less vulnerable than other signs are. It's just mainly because the sun going into Libra doesn't affect it quite as badly. But, it actually enhances its luck a little bit. But again, the sign is going to be committed to its job, and there may be cheating or dishonesty on the job front. The other sign we want to look at is Pisces. Pisces has Mars and Mercury in the seventh house, so that causes fights, it causes arguments, it causes hardships. If we're looking at the astro mapping, the parts of the country where there are going to be the biggest fights are really pretty much in the west. There's still danger of fires in the west, in Portland and Vancouver. That's coming back again. Let's see now where the moon is in the chart. Sun is, so Brazil's in tough shape again on the 20th full moon. England's in rough shape again, especially Scotland. Scotland's wanting to say goodbye. I've been wanting to say goodbye for a while now. And Venus is passing through England, and through Spain. And let's see what's going up through here. This is Jupiter. So again, kind of a feeling of hopelessness. But again, one of the positive things about this is if people have been pondering making changes, they'll make changes pretty quickly. If people have been having health issues, the health issues will be resolved pretty quickly. So that's good. Okay, so health problems, one of the positives I didn't mention for any of these signs is certain signs with certain health problems, like let's say like Scorpio, and within about 2 weeks, a lot of the health problems will be resolved or on the way to resolution. But we're also looking at some trouble in Turkey, some trouble in the Middle East. I'm worried about Turkey, not as much as I am in November. I'm worried about Turkey and Eastern Europe in terms of earthquake activity, really around the end of November, beginning of December, but not right now. But there could be some activity over here at this time as well. And let's see now, Saturn is passing through Iran, problems with disease and poverty. And also Rahu is passing through Afghanistan and Pakistan, along with a debilitated Jupiter, and Venus is passing through India, so that's more disease issues. So I'm just looking at China. China is actually in a position to resolve its trade issues, which is good. And the United States is actually in a position to resolve some of its immigration issues, which is good as well. But overall, this is going to be an interesting full moon. It's, again, astrologers engage in hyperbole when they're discussing topics like this. It doesn't necessarily mean every relationship across the board is going to break up, but I think you're going to see a lot of stress on relationships between now and the middle of December. So just prepare yourself. Okay. All right. So that's just some friendly advice. Just try to be patient, try to be calm, try to assess, try to count your blessings in the relationship, and try not to get into too many fights. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot. And again, there is always growth out of conflict. There is always new development out of hardship. There is always room for improvement. I got to stress that. We always improve whenever we go through these crises or these problems. So, and some people may not even get hit by these. So it's important not to panic about these combinations, but it is a difficult full moon. I'm not going to lie about that. It's difficult in Western astrology. It's difficult in Eastern astrology. And just be prepared for people to be a little bit more, some people will be more willing to take action and really confront the situation, which will be good. Other people will just essentially slink in a corner and build up resentment, which will not be good. And some people will just leave, or some people will join quickly, but it'll be a little bit of a tough 2 months for people relationship wise. The plan is going direct are a good thing in terms of actually getting projects done. They're kind of a bad thing if you've been trying to figure out whether or not to stay or go. Okay, so that's where they become difficult. But again, some of the planets involved are very weak. They're not going to have a major impact. Okay. All right. As a matter of fact, the sun and moon are very weak in this chart. So I don't want to scare people. I don't think it's really that major an issue, but it is something to watch out for. Okay. Thanks a lot. Have a nice week, and namaste. Bye-bye now.